Let me guess, you've been thinking, I wish that someone would just watch all of the videos on YouTube around settings for Battlefield 6 and then take all the best ones, combine them together, test them, and then just explain all of that really simply to me so that I can then use it for myself. Well, guess what? Look no further. My name is Buck Merlin. I'm here to solve the problem because this is absolutely ridiculous. No filler, no BS, no fluff. Let's get into it, baby. Now, before I break this down, I want to explain a few things when it comes to video games. We are in a new era of gaming, and I have seen the settings available to us change. It's become more complicated. We come from an old era of gaming where a lot of the games did all the calculations for us and didn't give us this type of control. So let's break a few things down. We play on a monitor or a TV, right? Generally, that's 16 by 9, okay? That makes a rectangle for us. My horizontal sensitivity cannot be the same as my vertical sensitivity because the spaces don't relate the same. So, video game developers created an equation to give their games their own certain feeling. Every single one has different, but at the same time, similar results, because from what I've investigated or found out is that there's only a few ways you can really change it until stuff kind of like the ratio doesn't work anymore. I know you guys are thinking, what the hell are you talking about, Merlin? Now, let me show you what I mean. Starting here, pretty simple. We're gonna go to edit settings, controller settings. Now, infantry aim sensitivity is the setting that is going to make all of the rest of this fit for you. The rest of it is going to build the framework. The sensitivity is going to match that to you. I want you to stop fitting you to settings and start fitting settings to you instead. Meaning, I'm going to show you the framework, then I'm going to show you how to go into the firing range and match that to yourself, because I'm sure you're thinking, how the hell am I going to do that, Merlin? I'm completely lost in the woods. Don't worry, I'm going to show you the light. Starting with field of view, I play at 120, and I believe a lot of you guys do as well, but in case you want to lower that and go to 105 or 110 or 100, just know that Battlefield 6 has a calculation built into it that makes it so that no matter your field of view, you will spin 360 degrees in the same amount of time if you're on the same sense. So that means at 120 field of view or 100, if my sensitivity doesn't change, it'll take me the same amount of time. What that's going to do for you visually, though, is because you're zoomed in, it's going to seem way faster. So if you're reducing your field of view, know that you're also going to have to reduce your sensitivity, but I'm going to show you the way to fine tune that later on. So this still all works for you. Next, vertical aim ratio. Vertical aim ratio is the calculation they've created to get all of our stuff to work together. What this is 56.2 is actually just 9 divided by 16. It's the ratio of my monitor. So 9 divided by 16 is 0.5625. That's why we get 56.2. It's the relationship of my horizontal versus vertical movement. That's how we make it feel similar, okay? If you're playing on a 20 by 21 by 9, like an ultra wide, you would do 9 by 21, 21. And then you would use that there. I found out also from Daniel, the reason my vertical zoom ratio is 74 is that, let's say you come from COD, you played on a 6.6, you had a 1 times zoom ratio, even though it said 1 times. COD by itself was actually making your zoomed in aim 26% slower. So if my regular aim was, let's say 100, right? Walking around, when I would zoom in, it would then be 74. That's why this ratio is set to 74. Before we go into anything else, I just want to talk about the curves, because right here is where we get into the secret sauce. And I just want you guys to have a better understanding before we go into that. Now, talking about curves, if you come from COD, the best one is dynamic. If you play on linear, run a linear curve. I would watch like Daniel's video if you guys want to play linear. You guys are weird. This is for you if you play dynamic. Battlefield 3 is the closest curve to dynamic. I don't care what anyone else says. I saw Daniel do the test. I believe in my GOAT. If you go down, you can see right here, for instance, you've got aiming left, right, acceleration. That is set to 0 for a very specific reason, and that's because I want to show you guys something. Use this chain as your curve, right, for your aim ratio. Now, if I add dead zone into either side of this curve, I want you to, if I add it from the bottom right? Or if I start adding dead zone from the top, you see how my curve then starts to change. If I start adding an acceleration, you see how my curve can start to change. This is like hypothetical, like there's a line right here, and as I move my stick, it's going to have an effect. So you need to be careful of adding that stuff in because it's going to drastically change the way that your game feels. This allows you to have a lot of customization ability, but can be a really, really slippery slope. So I would take all of that out. So no aiming left, right acceleration. And real quick, so you can see it, is going to be the controller tuning all the way at the bottom. So this is my dead zone. And the last thing I want to talk about is actual dead zone. So I learned this from Joe Woe. I went and looked at this and I was like, what the hell does this mean? Center dead zone is just the dead zone around like your entire stick period. What I learned was actual dead zone is actually your vertical dead zone. So let's say I'm moving left to right, but my trigger has some stick drift that's vertical, or like some type of vertical stick drift, whether that's up or down. My actual dead zone actually takes some of that away. So I've got some pretty substantial stick drift on both my sticks, rip. So my left stick is set to a center dead zone of 8, but they both rock a 2. I tried messing with this to go higher and then started having like some control issues. I got that from Joe. Shout out to him. Rocking actual dead zone at 2, I promise you, will make your game feel so much better. This is a gigantic change too. So hope you guys didn't skip this. And then going for dead zones, I play 0-5. That way it's just the most responsive. Oh, sorry, we're talking about dead zone, the other one. So no acceleration. And then I want you to also come down here to the bottom, and we're going to go to infantry, zoom, aim, and sensitivity. And I'm once again going to set that to 74, the same way that I had it up here. Sometimes you're going to see a few of the, hold up. I think I made a mistake when I said this. Settings like come across multiple times. So that's just kind of how we're breaking it down. So I think I'm actually double dipping. Just hear me out. Joe Woe, Daniel, a few others already figured out that at a 120 field of view, I need to be at a 42 aim sensitivity for it to feel like 1.6. So from Black Ops, so we're like for 6.6. I then went down and I made this zoom sensitivity 74, but I believe this zoom sensitivity is for all of these zoom settings right there. It's not for the total zoom. So I was essentially, because my overall sensitivity is raised, you'll see in like a few seconds that I raised this to 48. The reason I had that there is because I had 74% on the zoom. So it essentially made it to where my hip fire was a bit faster, but my ADS was essentially the same. I tried it with 100 and then set the aim sensitivity to 42. It took me a little bit to get used to it, but I just went 37 and 9 in a team deathmatch game. And when I say that it was sticky, it was disgusting. So I do recommend giving this a shot. I'm going to continue talking about how you can convert the sensitivity, which 100% still applies because not all of us played on 6.6, for instance. So if you do want a faster one, but let's say you want a faster hip fire, but you want to try that slower ADS, try the other settings because I do really love those and it really felt the same. So I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. A lot of y'all have seen settings talking about turning off the zoom transition sensitivity smoothing. This setting affects the way that your game feels in a couple ways. So enable the smooth sensitivity transition when aiming down sight. This option only affects legacy infantry aiming users. What this means is that if I'm just looking normally and I press L2 to go and aim down sight, I'm either going to have a transition as I like smoothly go into my next series that is a 26% slower zoom, right? That's what we figured out. Or I'm just going to boom, 26%. I can't do the snap like that. That messes me up. I like having this on, and I've seen a lot of people talk about having it off. That's something for you to try in your settings. Now, the real sauce and what I changed here, uniform infantry aiming. You have to turn it off in order to be able to access that setting below. But when you turn it on, you're going to get this. zoom sensitivity coefficient. And I'm guessing I'm the only one that you've ever seen that's got this set to 133. What I found out is that the general coefficient, what this means is, we were like, dude, what are you talking about? Games had to create a calculation to where if I'm playing the game and I zoomed in, what's the ratio of change? Like if I zoom in 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, there has to be some type of visual calculation that keeps it consistent as we zoom in. And that's how we've made video games. The general one is 1.78. That's why your setting is set to a coefficient of 178. There are some games, though, that use a zoom sensitivity coefficient of 1.33. Those games, Call of Duty, Borderlands, and a few others, all run on a 1.33 coefficient compared to a 1.78 coefficient. That is what I was talking about earlier, where there's things where they're similar but also different. So I changed this to 133. My infantry aim assist is 100. My aim assist slowdown is 75. You guys saw on the clips, it's like it's almost aiming for me, especially when I'm sniping from distance. That's the craziest feeling ever. You just got to trust it. This is the setting that changed everything for me. Now I want you to see a few things when we have this on. When you turn uniform infantry aiming on, it is then going to toggle this to be grayed out and not have an effect, even though this setting will still bleed into your settings. So let's take this into the firing range so I can show you. We're going to use a DRS here that's got a little bit of movement on it. So this is, when I have it set like this, I notice my aim is a bit more sporadic. So if you want to use this setting here, know that you're going to have a little bit more control over your gun. If I'm going full auto fire, you can see how it's kind of going a bit side to side, but it's still pretty accurate. Now, this is the way that I played all day last night on the live. If you guys haven't come through, hang on the live. It's just a chill spot to hang out every single night, okay? I've got enough places and enough BS in the world. I want to escape for a bit, so come escape with me. I'd love to have you. So control settings. Now, if I turn this off, my vertical zoom ratio comes back. That's at 74. This is blanked out. And then this is now on again. Even though we can't see that it's at 133, I promise you that setting is still bleeding. So now I'm getting the zoom smoothing. Do you see how stable, bro? Do you see, if I could tell you how easy it is to keep it there, I felt like I was just getting more movement. Do a little test and see for yourselves. I think that my aim is better when I have this here. It feels like it's almost impossible to get it off the person. It's like actually difficult to miss, kinda. Like, I've really got to work for it. This is so insane. So now, how do I fit that to you, and what am I even looking for? A few things that I do in the firing range are, I go ADS and I'll shoot one target, and then I want to flick, and I want to see how close do I naturally get to this next person. So if I'm going from like this target to this target to this target, it should just feel natural. If I start going, for instance, let me show you. Let's say I'm doing it. We found out that a lot of settings you're going to see, they're going to say set it your aim sensitivity to 42, because if you're at 42 and you're at a field of view of 120, that's going to take the same amount of time for you to turn based on like a lot of other things. I just think that that's only with the 1.78 or the 178 zoom coefficient, whatever. With the 1.33, I had to raise my aim sensitivity from 42 in order to get that feeling. So let's go with 42, for instance. So let's say you left it there, you changed all your settings, you came back to the firing range, you're like, all right, let me try it out. And then you start going through. If I start doing, you see how like I went to naturally go do it and I only ended up here? That's what I'm talking about, where I want to fit the settings to me. I don't want to make me fit the settings. So I'm not going to learn how to just, oh, I need to push it further. No, bro, stop. I've been playing games for 30 years, bro. 95% of my life, I've had a controller in my hand. I know what I'm supposed to do. Trust yourselves, guys. Trust your body. Let yourselves be you. Let yourself have your own jumper. I don't care if you're Kobe, if you're Clay, or you're shooting it over the head like the weird kid in gym class, but he happens to drain every shot. It doesn't matter how you shoot it, bro. It just matters that it goes in the rim. You feel me? So I would go then to settings. I'd say, okay, I'm going a little bit short on my curves here. I need to increase this. Now let's go to the other side. We were at like what, 47 point something? Let's go to like 52. So let's say I go here. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna shoot this guy, I'm gonna shoot this guy, and I'm gonna try and flick. You're also gonna notice as you increase your sensitivity, most of the time, you'll see that if have too much sense, when I'm going to control recoil, I'll generally over control and I'll bring it too far down like that. Obviously I'm over exaggerating, but you're gonna see your controller kind of start going down like this and always trying to fix that. That means your sensitivity is probably too high. If your gun is like consistently floating and you can't keep it up above that, then your sensitivity is too low. So there's a way to look for it left and right, and there's a way to look for it up and down. So now this 52, I'm gonna go here, start flicking. You see how like, I'm gonna get some over flicks, what I call, I'm gonna start shooting over it. So I'll go here, I'll go to this, I'll go to that, and I'll see that now I'm on that right side. I know I'm gonna bring that down. So things like, even don't underestimate, damn, what was I at before this? 47.5. I remember when I was testing it and I tried 48 and I was like, even doing it, I noticed I was getting just a bit of like when I was going to switch, I was getting a bit of overshoot doing that. I'm a little bit more comfortable with it now, but even that 0.5, don't be scared to, reduce it 0.5, increase it 0.5 until you're doing it. I'm like, dang, I feel like this really, really matches me right now. So I'm just gonna go back because, I mean, we were going nuts last night. I'm gonna rock my 47.5. This is the way I do it. So for the breakdown, let's just go over everything. Battlefield 3 is your dynamic curve from Call of Duty Black Ops, okay? Your vertical aim ratio is the ratio of your monitor. So that's what you're gonna figure out, and you're gonna put that there. Field of view, if I have it at 120, just remember that if I lower that, it's gonna make it seem faster. So the lower the field of view, the lower the sense. Higher the field of view, higher the sense. Aim assist 100, aim assist slowdown 75. I would not mess with the aim assist, with the strength of the aim assist, but you can mess with the slowdown a bit. I would still stay in this area. It's where a lot of pros are using it, and I do trust them for that. Vertical zoom ratio is that same thing. It's that slowdown from COD, yeah? So that's why we're using the 74. Remember to bring that all the way down here and go and change that the same way. Try out having the transition sensitivity. I had, like, if you played COD, you had a gradual change. I would use that. If I didn't, then I would leave it. The other thing to try, if you want to just rock it like me, I promise you, I would just do it the way that I got it set up. Go through the whole thing, change it so it's the 133, then turn the uniform infantry aiming off. If you'd like to try this as well and leave it like that, I would give this a shot too, because I do feel like this is a bit more responsive. The other version, I feel a bit like guided. This feels really, really nice. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. If anybody has any cool things, you see how though it just kind of like goes all over. I just feel like the other version really maximizes the aim assist. You'll see this difference here as I turn it back off. But I'm telling you that it bleeds through. See how, dude, it's so stuck, bro. It's so fire. I'm the GOAT, bro. I'm the GOAT. If you learned something new, dude, drop a like, hype up the dang video, and subscribe to the channel, baby. This is the best video I've ever made for you guys. I actually feel like it's something worthy and like I'm giving you something. You know what I mean? So if you guys like the energy and you guys like the help me out, dude.